Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President and Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
There we go. We're going to get a kumbaya and a wee doggies in there somewhere. I don't know.
Wee doggies.
Wee doggies. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jacquelyn.
I saw your note on the board. Glenn says we're going to talk about what getting saved means today.
She does mention it. Try to set of the Eagles song we listened to on the intro coming in here was looking for a lover who won't blow my cover, and I need somebody who will save me. I'm looking for somebody that will save me. It's a pretty universal idea, and the Course is no different because she talks about it in the second section of the clarification of terms. She brings up this very, very fundamental idea.
Amen.
So who do you want to read what do you want to tell them about where we are and tell them what the format's going to be?
Oh, okay. Now that I've told you, right? We are reading clarification of terms. Last week we did the introduction and the first term, mind, spirit. This week we're going to look at the section called the ego, the miracle. And I just thought it might be helpful. Number one, this it's not a long section, but I thought it might be helpful to just give it context as we talk about it. And I think it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous.
It is.
So if it's okay with you, I'll start reading it.
Please.
Okay. So illusions will not last. Their death is sure, and this alone is certain in their world. It is the ego's world because of this. What is the ego? But a dream of what you really are, a thought you are apart from your creator, and a wish to be what he created not. It is a thing of madness, not reality at all. A name for namelessness is all it is, a symbol of impossibility, a choice for options that do not exist. We name it, but to help us understand that it is nothing but an ancient thought that what is made has immortality. But what could come of this except a dream, which, like all dreams, can only end in death? What is the ego? Nothingness, but in a form that seems like something. In a world of form, the ego cannot be denied, for it alone seems real. Yet would God's Son, as he created him, abide in form or in a world of form? Who asked you to define the ego and explain how it arose can be but he who thinks it real and seeks by definition to ensure that its elusive nature is concealed behind the words that seem to make it so. There is no definition for a lie that serves to make it true, nor can there be a truth that lies conceal effectively. The ego's unreality is not denied by words, nor is its meaning clear because its nature seems to have a form. Who can define the undefinable? And yet there is an answer even here. We cannot really make a definition for what the ego is, but we can say what it is not. And this is shown to us with perfect clarity. It is from this that we deduce all that the ego is. Look at its opposite, and you can see the only answer that is meaningful. The ego's opposite in every way, in origin, effect, and consequence, we call a miracle. And here we find all that is not the ego in this world. Here is the ego's opposite, and here alone we look on what the ego was. For here we see all that it seemed to do and cause, and its effects must still be one. Where there was darkness, now we see the light. What is the ego? What the darkness was. Where is the ego? Where the darkness was. What is it now, and where can it be found? Nothing and nowhere. Now the light has come. Its opposite has gone without a trace. Where evil was, there now is holiness. What is the ego? What the evil was. Where is the ego? In an evil dream that but seemed real while you were dreaming it. Where there was crucifixion stands God's Son. What is the ego? Who has need to ask? Where is the ego? Who has need to seek for an illusion now that dreams are gone? What is a miracle? A dream as well. But look at all the aspects of this dream and you will never question anymore. Look at the kindly word you see extend before you as you walk in gentleness. Look at the helpers all along the way you travel, happy in the certainty of heaven and the surety of peace. And look an instant too on what you left behind at last and finally passed by. This was the ego, all the cruel hate, the need for vengeance and the cries of pain, the fear of dying and the urge to kill, the brotherless illusion and the self that seemed alone in all the universe. This terrible mistake about yourself, the miracle corrects as gently as a loving mother sings her child to rest. Is not a song like this what you would hear? Would it not answer all you thought to ask and even make the question meaningless? Your questions have no answer, being made to still God's voice, which asks of everyone one question only. Are you ready yet to help me save the world? Ask this instead of what the ego is, and you will see a sudden brightness cover up the world the ego made. No miracle is now withheld from anyone. The world is saved from what you thought it was, and what it is wholly uncondemned and wholly pure. The miracle forgives, the ego damns. Neither need be defined except by this. Yet could a definition be more sure or more in line with what salvation is? Problem and answer lie together here, and having met at last, the choice is clear. Who chooses hell when it is recognized? And who would not go on a little while when it is given him to understand the way is short and heaven is his goal? So sweet, yeah.
I know. So many good metaphors in that. I can't wait to dig in.
Yeah, well, be my guest. Go right ahead.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll start by saying you may have noticed when Jacquelyn was reading, she says, I don't know if you were counting, but she says ego 23 times in this sections. And she says, and she uses the word miracle 6 times. So what do you think the emphasis of the ego in the miracle is? What do you think she wants you to concentrate on? Or like what you need to be aware of, because it's something that we're doing, because the miracle and reality and stuff is already exists. I don't have to create reality or anything that is real. It's already there. I'm waiting to experience it. But I've got this misunderstanding of how I'm put together and even how the world operates and how to even get I don't even know how to operate the mechanisms I've got. We learned that in the last section. I got a mind body that I don't even really rely on or even understand or can't even critically reason the information I'm getting from my body. So she starts out there and goes, you also don't even know your own psychological makeup. You keep making these mistakes over and over and over again. So, okay, since you ask, she says, I'll tell you what the ego is and I'll tell you how it relates to the miracle. And she says, and she does this. She names she has these colorful names for the ego. We're going to look at a couple of them, but she calls the ego the dream of what you really are. Wow. She calls the ego the name for the namelessness. It's a name for namelessness. She calls the ego a symbol of impossibility. It's like she's doing like a collection of novels or something, and for a series of novels, maybe 10 or 15. She goes, the first novel is the dream of what you are. Anyway, she goes on to call the ego a collection of illusions in the first paragraph. I love that. A collection of illusions. Like we're collectors of illusions that fit our, fit what we like or what we want. We're like, oh, that illusion's good. That fits into my, my trauma or my delusion. And what was helpful, what I thought was pretty helpful to me, was she implies very clearly that it is a worldview. Your ego has a worldview. It is the very premise. It's the very foundation of separation. And she uses, in this idea of a worldview, she says it's an ancient thought system. So this was around before us, before this version of me or whatever, before this body, before this time. This is an ancient thought system, okay? And she calls the ancient thought system the dream, in contrast to a lot of other ways in which we talk about what a dream is, like the American dream, or like a dream job, or Barbie's dream house, right? So she uses all of those things, and it's not an accident. She goes, the ancient thought system that you can't even examine is called the dream, which means to me unconsciousness. But the part was really cool in the first paragraph. She goes, don't worry, it ends. It has to end, So the ego has grief built right into it. The ego has grief and loss and disappointment and time and all those things built right into the foundations, right into its very nature. So what is the ego? She says, and I love this too, it exists in the material world. How about that? It exists in the material world. So we've got an ancient thought system that exists in the material world. We even think that this thought system, this ego, this ancient way of conducting ourselves is us. We think it's real. We think it's actually as material, she says in this section. She says it's actually as solid as our bodies are, solid as our bones are. So this is not a reasonable assumption. She says, please look at this. She goes, this can't be a very reasonable assumption. You can't really believe all of this because we can pick it apart quite easily. She calls the ego a lie. And the cool thing about it is, she goes, it will be discovered. It's a lie that serves to make it true. So it will be discovered because it's a lie. It can't stand. There is nothing to grab about the ego. Because it's a thought system. We think it's material. It gets very, very elusive. And she says, because it's nothing. There's nothing to grab a hold of. Why is this such a big thing for us to understand? She says, and this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm a Course in Miracles student, is because of the integrity of this system. She says, where the ego seems to do things, what the ego seems to do is take credit for stuff that's happening. What the ego does is make stories about what happened and takes credit when it has nothing to do with it. The miracle, she says, it says has cause and effect are one in the miracle and in the ego. So that's cause and effect are one, means matching ends. It's the core. It's the core foundation. It's the core principle of anarchism, and it's the core principle of A Course in Miracles. So I'm really hot on A Course in Miracles because of the integrity of means matching ends. She says, oh, well, what is a miracle? Oh, so no, she says, so she goes on the next whole platform or the next whole paragraph, and she says, stop doing this. Please stop contemplating the origins of the ego. It's a complete waste of your time. Just deplatform it already, you know, just like pull the plug whenever you want to go down that. Don't go there. So what is the miracle? And she says, the metaphor she uses, she goes, it's a dream of a kindly world. See, there's the dream again, but it's the happy, or what Course in Miracles called the happy dream, or it's a dream of a kindly world on a gentle walk. How about that? What's the miracle? It is a world full of confident and skilled helpers. You remember that quote from, I think it's Mr. Rogers, one of my childhood heroes, when he goes, whenever you see a tragedy, just, don't be upset. Look for the helpers. Look for the people that are helping. And there it is in A Course in Miracles. The miracle is a world full of helpers. I love that idea. So then she says, she gives my favorite definition of the ego. She calls it a brotherless illusion. How's that for a title of a novel? The Brotherless Illusion. That just like so thrilled me, because that is like, oh yeah, because fraternities and friends and band of brothers and brother. I grew up in the military, on military bases. So this idea of brotherhood and everything is like really steeped in my DNA, being a military brat, and an athlete and an activist and things like that. So brotherhood, solidarity, that's the really thing. So that really hit home for me when she goes, yeah, you know what the ego is? It's brotherless. There are no comrades. The ego has no friends, no brothers, it's completely without a family, without anything. That's not appealing. And she says, oh, it's just your brotherless illusion. That really struck home for me. She says the ego is cruel hate. It is pain. It is fear. It is death. And the miracle contrasting that, correct. And she probably gives one of the most beautiful metaphors here for the miracle. She says, it is your mother singing to you.
Yeah, sweet.
It is the creator, the person who made you out of themselves, singing to you, soothing you. I loved that. It's the mother singing our song directly to us. And it answers, this song, the metaphor, answers our deepest questions. What is the miracle? It is and she says, it's God's voice that is doing this song. So she specifically expands this metaphor and says, God is your mother. And you come and sit on your mother's lap, and she soothes you and answers your deepest questions. That was so moving to me as a big squishy pagan and a feminist and all that. Like, yes, of course God is a woman. God, the oldest thing we've ever worshipped is women in the world. The first thing we ever worshipped was a woman, because nobody really knew how people got here. It's like, oh, women are magical. I swear, every once in a while they make a person. They can make people. You will not believe it, but every once in a while they make people. They have to be gods.
It's just a bonus,
right? So worse, I'm totally on board with that. As a mother God singing to us, and the song that she sings is, "Are you ready to help me save the world?
Uh-huh.
Are you ready to help me save the world? Are you ready to help me? I need your help if you're ready." It shines. So living into this question, how do I save the world, is the method she offers that shines away the ego and material existence, because they're both the same thing.
Mm.
revealing material existence's true nature, wholly pure. If you want to know what's really happening out here, and you're experiencing anything less than whole, a pure, holy, something wholly pure and sacred in the world, you're not answering the question, how am I helping God? How am I helping my mom save the world?
How am I helping my mom? I love it. I love it.
So, you know, it shines a light on the ego in the material existence, revealing our true nature as wholly pure, and the world is wholly pure. And it's saved, the world is saved. We're saved from our judgment, from our needing the world to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And she wraps it all up and says, you know, it's all boils down to freedom of choice, and I gave it to you. You're gonna have a choice of what does she call it? She says of you living in a world of forgiveness or living in a world of damnation. Right? Live in this world of pain, death, suffering, nothing you can grab your hand on, you know, nothing that's satisfied, always trying to measure up and get approval, or, you know, forgiveness, letting things be as they are, like Yolanda and I say a lot. But the problem, she underlines this cause and effect thing at the end. She says this point twice. The problem and the answer lie together. You get what you do. Even if you don't understand anything else, understand that participating in the ego leads you to death and everything like that, because you're participating in those things. If you want to participate in the real world and wholly pure, you'll participate. You will do the things. You will take action in the world to make cause and effect match, to make means and ends match, to make intent and action match. That's how it happens. And she says, and she ends the thing with a rallying call to the world. She goes, the way is short and heaven is the goal. The way is short and heaven is the goal. I just thought it was a little bit of a rally there. She you know, at the very end, I'm coming from my perspective. I've, you know, been out here in front of the police stations and stuff, and ICE things, and, you know, and all of this. So when I say, you know, so it just sounded like a cheer. It just sounded like a, you know, a rally. I'm going to get the T-shirt, you know.
When I say forgiveness, you say amen.
Yeah, I know, something like that. You know, it's a, you know. So, and also, I'll save this a little bit more. I'll save it to the end for my conclusion. The way I put it was, I say the way is short, you say heaven is near. The way is short, heaven is near. The way is short, heaven is near. You know, that's the way that's kind of the way I heard it. I'm never going to hear that. I'm never going to hear that ever again, you know, the same way. That's why I'm so appreciate you willing to do this, Jacquelyn, and to come down and to really talk about the way she gets these messages across. Because method in A Course in Miracles, I think, is just as important as the terms themselves, what she's actually doing. She spends most of the time in the talking about ego and the miracle, is saying, you know, this ego idea that you want to talk about so much, not so much. I don't really want to talk about it. You know, let's talk about the miracle. Let's talk about you getting into the light, crawling up on your mom's lap. Let's talk about those kind of things. I don't really want to, you know, get into some Jungian 5-part series on what the ego is and its value and its construction, and, you know, how, you know, she doesn't ever go that direction. So I was really, really pleased about that. And stop going useless journeys, and being excited about the metaphor of the singing mother, and the matching means and ends, and that was just really crucial for overcoming the ego, or being able to see the ego for what it is.
I love that. Yeah, matching means and ends is everything. You're right.
It is everything, and that's the foundations of classical anarchism. So Another reason why I call it myself an anarchist is because to do that, it means matching ends. It's the very core. It's the very core principle of anarchism.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I gotta say, I'm still. You thanked me a moment ago for being here and doing this program, and I thank you for the same. I will tell you that I'm still trying to figure out what we're doing, because I hear you teach and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's great, but that is not what I read.
Really?
Yeah, so it's really interesting to watch this unfold, because I don't disagree with a word you said. I think every bit of that was right. I think your emphasis was 100% right. That's not what I wrote in my notes. So it's
that's just so good, because you and I come to the same place. We arrive at the same restaurant with coming from completely different, ways of getting there.
Yeah. So anyway, so you want to hear my way?
I really do.
Okay.
It really intrigued me, because, I like what you said, but it's wrong. Of course, that's not what you said. That's not what you said. See, that's what I'm talking about, giving you an example of what the ego does, right?
Right.
Yeah. I could
and in fact, when you read it, I'm like, did I read the right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I know. I double checked. I checked and double checked.
Oh my God. So, well, let's talk about, and I just, I wrote down some sentences from each of these paragraphs as I went through, and what came to me as I contemplated them. So I'll just go through it here. Let's see. She says, ego is but a dream of what you really are. And I noted, as you did there at the end, or she did, emphasizing the choice, I noted that it's a deliberate choice to imagine yourself to be something you're not.
Yeah.
She says, ego's a thought you are apart from your creator, and a wish to be what he created not. And again, that's nothing new to us. Course in Miracles told us, when we began reading, whenever that was for you, your one problem is you believe in separation, and you're like, what?
I know.
Yeah. But this is it exactly. It's a choice that we make to disidentify from the truth of what we are, and the truth of what we are is what our creator, what God is. Right. What I often refer to as the only one thing that's going on here. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's and our choice to pretend that we're this little person, this little body is for me synonymous with the thought of the ego, the belief in separateness itself. So again, she says it's a thought you're apart from your creator, and a wish to be what he created not. It's an impossibility, as she goes on to tell us. She also calls it a name for namelessness. And in the next paragraph, she says, what is the ego? Nothingness, but in a form that seems like something. In Gentle Healing Year 2, the tip today I wanted to share, because Regina kind of talks about the same thing in here. She says, she's talking about, we're reading Inner Ramana in that course, and she says that she talks about, okay, so you want me to put ego aside, or the thinking mind. Again, I think I see a real similarity, or I think it's the same thing. The thinking mind, the confused mind, the ego, right? All of that to me is synonymous. And she says, in today's message, the teacher points out that he isn't asking the student to put the mind aside. He's asking her to see that it is nothing. Mm-hmm. She says, I can decide to put a cup of coffee aside. I can't decide to put Santa Claus aside, because there's nothing there to put aside. If I think I have a relationship with Santa Claus, I'm deluded. A counselor wouldn't help me heal from that delusion if he said, put Santa aside, stop talking to him. He's not good for you. Right? I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. It's nothing. It's nothing. And that's what we're really being asked to see. This thing that we think we are, this thing that we think is necessary for us to operate in this world, it's nothing. It's a mistaken belief that you're free to choose to continue to live by or not.
And I don't even think it works or doesn't work. It's nothing. It doesn't. The ego doesn't work or not work. It's so hard to get for a minute to get out of that. You get out of that mindset. Well, the ego doesn't work, and it sends you down this path. No. The ego doesn't do anything.
Yeah. How could it? How could it? Yeah. And that's you know, kind of the theme behind this is to believe that it could do something is to believe in the very separateness that it purports to prove, right? So, hang on a second, this just popped up on my computer. All right. Let's see. And when I was looking at this, again, she says, what is the ego? Nothingness, but in a form that seems like something. And when I was looking at this, I was thinking about, you know, I'm reading Joan Tollefson's book, Death, the End of Self-Improvement. And she continues to use the word reification. And so I looked up the meaning of that word, and that word is the consideration of an abstract idea as if it were an actual thing. Well, there you go, right? What's the ego but that? Mm-hmm. But that. To believe in it is to believe in separation. To believe in it is to believe that you're something other than you actually are. Let's see. Yeah. At most, you could say it's an idea or a thought of something that doesn't actually exist. Mm-hmm. She's like, but we can say what it's not. The ego is opposite in every way, in origin, effect, and consequence. We call a miracle. And so I looked a little bit at the Sparkly edition. Of course, miracles for the at some of the it's the miracle principles, and just pulled out some that are just in such obvious contrast to what the ego is, and I'm going to share those with you. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. So a miracle is an expression of love, right? Mm-hmm. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. Love is expansive, inclusive, and ego is divisive and isolating, right? So it's easy to see that it's certainly not love. It's the opposite of that. Miracles are thoughts, and thoughts can represent lower order or higher order reality. And I love this because, she talks in this section about how the miracle itself is a thought within the dream. If we weren't having a dream, we wouldn't need the miracle because we wouldn't be dreaming of something other than what we were, right? She says miracles bear witness to truth. Bear witness to truth. And that's what we're at. I mean, that's why the miracle cures the ego illusion, right? Because ego illusion wants to split everybody apart, split everything up. And the miracle goes, no. There's only one thing going on here. There's only one thing going on here. You are not separate from your brother. You are not separate from me. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating it is more blessed to give than to receive. Again, ego's going to go, hey, brother, get out of my way because I'm going to get that thing and you're in my way, right? And the miracle goes, oh, no, that's not how it works. Everybody receives more as you give. Let's see.
Those helpers.
Yeah, those helpers, exactly. And then she says a miracle is a service. It's the maximal service one individual can render another. It's a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. Again, there's only one thing going on here. There is no separation. You and your brother are one, not just alike, actually one. yeah. Let's see. Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. And you made that point in you're talking about this, right? It seems the ego seems as solid as a body, and the body seems like it has substance and it matters. But none of that is true. Yeah. And then I really like this one. And in the Sparkly edition, it uses a term that I don't think it actually uses in the Foundation for Inner Peace version. It says the spiritual eye.
Okay.
Eye. Like see with eye. And it says that later on in the Course in Miracles, it begins using the same thing as the Holy Spirit. It's talking about the Holy Spirit when it says the spiritual eye, but it's talking about your ability to discern truth from falsity, the spiritual eye. Mm-hmm. So she says the spiritual eye is the mechanism of miracles because what it perceives is true. And, in the same vein, what ego thinks, or what you perceive when you align yourself with the ego thought system, is not the truth. It's the exact opposite, right? Let's see. And then I love this one. Wholeness is the perceptual content of miracles. It thus corrects or atones for the faulty perception of lack anywhere. And isn't that exactly the truth? There's your exact opposites. Wholeness, 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 lack, 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 right? Spiritual eye or Holy Spirit, ego, confused mind, thinking mind. Those are the only two possibilities. And as the Course in Miracles tells us, the second isn't even actually a possibility, the fantasy. Let's see. Oh, and then she goes into this part about, sorry, I get excited. She goes into this part about the metaphor of the ego being darkness and being, not even dissolved by the light. That's giving it too much credit. It says, where does the darkness go when the light, I say that. Where does the darkness go when the light is shone upon it? She says, what is it now and where can it be found? It's nothing and it's nowhere. And again, studying Inner Ramana is asking us to do this very thing. She says, what is the ego? Who has need to ask? And that's what Inner Ramana is having us do, is to say, who wants to know?
I know.
Who does it matter to? With every thought that I have, who cares?
Ask yourself why you care.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Let's see. She says, I say. When questioned, the ego disappears because only by infusing it with our believing attention can it appear to exist. That's the only existence it has. The life that I give it by giving it my believing attention. That's all the ego is. It's a dream. It's made up here, or in the collective here, right? Let's see. And then at the end there, she says, your questions have no answers. And that's because the questioning thing is the denial of truth. How in the world could you give it an answer? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a hypothetical built upon a false foundation. And the questioner itself doesn't even exist. So how are you supposed to answer that question? All you can say is the truth is. The truth is. And anything that's not the truth is not. And then that the miracle forgives, the ego damns. To be damned is to be condemned or doomed. Condemned or doomed. Doesn't sound awful. And of course, as we know, forgiveness overlooks the belief in separation, overlooks the belief that there's more, that there's a bunch of things going on here and that those things could be in conflict. The miracle goes, no, that's not what's really happening.
No, you're in conflict.
Yeah.
These ideas aren't, miracle isn't competing with the ego for your attention.
Right?
They're not in a battle. They're not, Jesus and the devil aren't wrestling for your soul,
Right? Well, some of us learned that at some point that they were.
I'm a good Southern Baptist boy. I had that, what will Jesus do bracelet and everything.
And then I want to read you one more thing. And that's from In Ramana. And again, it's this metaphor of the light dispelling the darkness. When the light comes on, where's the darkness go? What darkness? It never existed, right? Let's see. She says, some will also call this shining the light of awareness on an idea that is dark. And from NTI, John chapter 3, the light is with man and the light is in man, but the light is not known by man unless he welcomes it. Each man welcomes the light by his own choice and according to his own choice. But to know the light fully, one must welcome it fully. When a man welcomes the light fully, he ceases to be a man and he becomes the light. For the light is the presence that denies the existence of man. It knows only the light. When a man becomes the light, he is the light, and he sings to all men of the light, as he knows there is only light. And I think that's exactly what she's saying here. I mean, why are you talking about the ego? It doesn't exist. Let's talk about what's important, what really does exist. Close the door. I'm coming back. Go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, no. You brought up a lot of really wonderful, delicious things that I wasn't gonna that spurred my thoughts as well. When you ask a question that the answer lies in the question, like you're fishing, that's politics, isn't it? Right? He goes, how about the question? Are you still beating your wife?
Yeah.
There's no way to answer that question, and it's a very political way of thinking. It's a very political way of talking in order to ask the question to get the answer that you want. Right. It's called, it's bias. It's bias. It's prejudice. It's bigotry. It's propaganda. All of that stuff is all, but it doesn't have to be destroyed. What does it have to be done? Overlooked, and we have to participate in what is wholly pure.
Right. And I really appreciate you bringing that point home, because you're right. I skipped right over that. I skipped right over it. The means and the ends are always the same. So if you want to know how to get from this belief in something that doesn't exist to the experience of oneness, that requires that you believe in oneness, that you be oneness, that you act as if things were one.
Act like it, even if you don't believe it. It doesn't require your belief. Thank God it doesn't require my belief.
Yeah, because a lot of days it sure don't seem like
I
it.
know.
Seems like there's a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, and that their interests are totally antithetical to mine.
Well, because of this study with you, and they're going over these clarification of terms, I've begun to have a new kind of a new understanding or a new way of thinking about the ego for myself, and it's very new for me. These last couple of about 3 or 4 weeks now of doing this and preparing for this, I'm thinking now that the ego, and starting the course again and doing all of this, and as the animal mind. And it kind of goes with what you're reading from the the man. And you cease to be the man. Well, that's a being. That's a man is an animal. So I mean that in a very small a term. It's like it's the animal mind. And she talks about the mind. In the last chapter, she goes, the mind, and creates thoughts. Creates this either where the mind is creating the miracle, and it's also creating your suffering. It's mind and spirit. So you have a spirit within you that can help your mind discern the real world. The real world is there for us to experience, and the miracle is the mechanism, the sort of magic or the spirit or our essence that actually allows the mind to experience, because the mind dies, right? The mind has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The spirit doesn't. Allows the mind, this miracle is the sort of spirit, magic, or essence that acts on the mind, that allows the mind to perceive its experiences in the world of material existence as whole or pure or useful or healthy, or
beyond what the physical eyes would see.
Beyond what the physical is, reality, something more attuned to reality. So that was really helpful to me. This idea of a miracle being the action spirit takes on the mind that perceives the world.
Sweet, yeah.
That was helpful to me to think about. Oh, it's a natural quality. It's like the water that the world is swimming in, the water that the mind is swimming in is the miracle. It's a quality of the mind that's infused by spirit. The other part, she asks you to be helper in the Inner Romana, and she asks you to be a helper. She asks you to think more about what you can do than what you can, about what you can receive. Those are basic socialist, anarchist, and very communist political ideas. As far as like, so you want to talk about an economy or a political system or a monetary system that is based on those ideas. I mean, that's where you can begin to look. Darkness, for me, as we're looking at this, darkness is what I don't see. Because when darkness is, it just means I can't see what's in front of me. It doesn't mean that I turn on the light and suddenly my apartment sprang into existence. I turned on the light and I can see the apartment that already exists.
Right. Yes, that's beautiful. I love the way you put that.
The darkness is my refusal to engage with the miracle. I don't see. If I'm not seeing with the miracle, then I don't see. I'm not seeing something else. I'm seeing nothing, or I am not seeing.
Perfect. Wow, that's beautiful. Well, thank you for pulling that together. That's perfect.
I heard that. So I think about it as the economy of mind. I think about it. This is the question and the answer riding together. The other way, the opposite of this, the other side of that coin, where means and ends is, or maybe it's the same coin, but it's when she says later in the course, she goes, the solution always travels with the problem. Mm-hmm. So if you can identify the problem, then the solution's right next to it, or like is traveling with it. If you can identify the solution, what corrects it is also in the field. Now you can use the Einstein quote, you need to be on a different level to understand where the mistake happened, but the correction happens at the same level the mistake happened in.
And so what does that mean to you on a practical level? It
means that if I step on your foot, I owe you an apology. I don't owe some other random foot an apology.
I appreciate that, because I've always seen that in larger terms, as if as in I got a POS car and a little bitty apartment, and my husband cheats on me. Okay, all of that I'm making up, y'all. But those things, the problem is not that I need a new car, a new husband, and a new apartment. The problem is that I am not seeing with the spiritual eye. The problem is that I'm thinking that I'm separate from my husband and everything in the world. And the solution to that is there's only one thing going on here. Mm-hmm. So in my wanting things to be different is more of the same. My wanting a better this, a better that, a better that, mm-hmm. is creating more misery, more problems, because I'm operating at that level of the problem. And when I can step back from that and go, you know what? none of that is a problem, because none of that threatens the truth of who I am.
I know.
Yeah.
Because I've known plenty of happy people with POS cars. You know? Yeah. I know really nice and, really nice, super great people in like tiny, crappy apartments on the wrong side of town. If my apartment and my clothes and my arm candy or the job or the PhDs, if that worked to get me happy, then that's what I would be doing. Because I'm going to be happy. I want to know what reality is. I want to know what works, and I'm going to do the work to get the happiness that I want. And I did believe, I went down that road. I did believe that might makes right. I did believe that, beauty deserves, all and on and on, all the things that you can, trot out that in any junior high school knows about social. So, junior high schooler knows about how to conduct yourself in society, and not to get ostracized and everything. But that's was just absolutely just delightful to me to like spend time with my mother, singing to me. Yes. And answering that song, and to be about singing that, to be able to take on my song to the world and to be a helper. Can I read you my conclusion?
You may.
Yes, I'd like to read you my the conclusion. So the conclusion for this lesson, and I once again I really appreciate the ability to do this, is at some point, we must recognize that there is another voice besides the egos. It's a nurturing song to our soul, soothing and supporting us. It can lead us to the experience of heaven as full of helpers and helping others. But until we decide that we might be, given the plethora of evidence all around us, more than material objects that are born, grow, change, and die, we will live in brotherless illusion, one of the neighborhoods of hell. The easy answer is to pay close attention to the law of cause and effect. Examine beliefs and actions, not our trauma's origins and the possible outcomes. The mechanism is forgiveness of our ego and of all material existence. The miracle is our conscious action upon the world that creates the experience that is wholly pure. I can hear a mantra song. The way is short and heaven is the goal. So when I say the way is short, you say heaven
is the goal. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, and I will let me read to you a journal with inner wisdom today, and I think it's right on point with what we've said. I said, I'd like to talk about anger. It seems that more than one person is imposing on me by putting me in situations I do not want to be in. My resistance to these people and situations seems to come in the form of anger. What would you share with me about this? Inner wisdom said, you're correct to identify your anger as resistance to what is. This resistance is in turn fear. What is not love can only be fear. Fear merely indicates the need to turn your gaze from anticipated outcomes. What is it to you how things turn out? To whom does it matter? Remember that you are beyond the reach of the things of the world. It matters not what occurs there. Take each step with me in the confidence that all is well and need not be manipulated by you for that guarantee to be true. All is well. Amen. And for me, that's that's the miracle, right? It's the willingness to step back and go, who wants to know how this is going to turn out? Who needs to turn it out a certain way? That is all that, you walk into that trap and you're stuck there. Mm-hmm. So the choice is to just hands off, mm-hmm. And know that all of that is meaningless.
Mm-hmm. the one big question I'm walking away with of this is, and the way Helen and Jesus get kind of snarky together. The thing that in my head, it goes, oh yeah, who's asking? You know, blah 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 blah. Who's asking? Yeah, who? Yeah, you and who wants to know? Yeah, who wants to know? You know. I love that, to use to like let that sink in. It's like, oh, I can trace down where that thought, what I need to do, what the motivation is, the belief system. If I ask, like, oh, who needs to know?
That's right.
Because the thing that needs to navigate society and make sure that, you know, she's not pissed off at me, or I get this done,
Right.
and make sure that, you know, all this is presented properly, and I use the, you know, whatever, that, you know, this performance of goodness, this performance of righteousness, this performance of being a good person, or me, or correct, or well, or happy, or healthy, or, I mean, just whatever thing that you've got in your head that you've got to be seen as, or get feedback on, so that you're okay and don't feel so alone. Okay, why are you feeling so alone? Might you spend your time figuring out why you're alone, or like the beliefs that are keeping you alone, versus the things you need to change about yourself or add to yourself so you're more acceptable to other people? So that they'll give you the feedback that you want, you know?
The problem
like
you think you have is not the problem that you
right,
have.
right. I guess I know. So when I asked myself, when I first started doing this, is when you ask who wants to know, and for a long time in my life, is the person who wants to get laid. In order to change something about myself, or understanding.
Happy, safe, and loved, but yeah, same thing.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just out here trying to get laid, you know? It was like, oh my God, you know? And
you know what? We promised to let other people talk. We have
please.
2 minutes left. Come on, 2 minutes, y'all.
Yeah.
Shauna might let us stay an extra couple of minutes.
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Shauna?
I'd love to hear how this impacted anybody that's there.
Yeah, who would like to share? There's plenty of time. Yes, Yolanda.
Oh my God. Y'all are nail on the head tonight. So who needs to know, right? I don't think I've ever thought about that. I don't think I've ever heard that. Oh my God, I just lost my eyelash. Who needs to know?
That'll give you something to think about. Who needs that eyelash?
I love this. I feel free in a whole new way. Like, okay, who is this that needs to know? And by the way, I just bought Inner Ramana because I've never read it. So I was just like, oh wow, okay, now it was speaking to me really loudly. Okay, now I need to read Inner Ramana. So I'm excited. Y'all just lifted something, you know, or made me see something differently. I had never thought about that before. So thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Oh my.
Who else?
All right, so next time, let's try leaving like the last 10 minutes. I know, I'm verbose, you're verbose, so. But we really should leave some time for folks to talk. Do you all feel pressured? Do you not want to say anything? Y'all don't want to share anything? Do you feel pressured now?
Yeah.
Laura, please.
It was really, really, really fun. Thank you. Thank you. It was just really fun. Shauna told me that you two were doing this new program, And yeah, just in my experience, when there's any charge to anything, I say, and Shauna knows this well, that my world is very vibrational, the world of light, and the identification of the ego thought and asking, where's this coming from? Or what Glen's question was, is who wants to know, and then going back and finding out there's actually nothing there. And the mind just lets go or goes right back to the source. And it's amazing and a process. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for being here. It's fun to see you.
It is.
Lynn, did you want to share?
I was going to say, I just like the energy that the both of you bring to this. Like Glen goes through and gives us the concrete examples, and I'd never thought of the song, like a mother singing to the child, which is, fabulous. And then Jacquelyn, you bring in the more abstract and tying in, all we learned. So I think it's a great combination. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'm glad it's valuable. It's the way I remember. I need something catchy and interesting, or, I need a snarky comment or a mother's song or something like that. So the way she teaches is she's real. I'm the audience she's teaching to. I really am. What about you, George? You always got something good to say.
You guys are a hoot. This hour passed like nothing. I thought, well, where'd it go? So, I've read the course from cover to cover, but most of it only once, except for the lessons. I did the lessons over and over and over, but it's been a long time, so it's kind of nice to go back and just look at it closely. So thanks.
Thanks, George. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, a closer look. Right.
Play us our outro.
Oh yeah, I know.
We love you
Already.
all. This outro is great. Got to hear it.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.